And we're live now. Welcome in, guys. If you're in the comments, let us know your comments. Let us know what your team is. Let us know what you think of this week's football. Are you happy? Are you sad? Who's really annoyed you? Who's really made you up? Let us know. So, where do you want to start? Which game shall we start with? Should we get the annoying one out for me and Charlie? Get it out the way so me and Charlie can get things off our chest straight away and get the Liverpool Man United games up. Your gleeful ways, as you are an Evertonian.
I think we should just have the Z-Cars music introducing the whole of this, And I think it'd just be a wonderful way of showing how much I wasted my Sunday afternoon watching it.
Yeah. I think all three of us did there, John. I think we wasted that afternoon a lot.
I think with the Liverpool game, right, that's the biggest argument my American friends have with soccer or European football. Yes, and when there's scoreless games, they just want to. I think Americans are trained to see score. And if there's no scores, then it's a boring game or whatever. So they don't get to see the beauty of the game. I don't think. So when a game like today's game is 0-0, is 0-0, that would drive them insane. I think it's just seeing scoreless games.
Yeah, I think you're right, Charlie. I think scoreless games doesn't necessarily mean it's been a boring game. I've seen some really good games where there's been no goals.
Right. Yeah.
Days was not one of them. It was. I thought there was some mistakes. I thought Liverpool were dominating. I thought they dominated the game in large parts, but they didn't give the right pass in the right moment in the final pass. But I think that's down to, and I know it's the back line that's having the injuries. I think the back line injuries is what's caused that for Liverpool. Yes. Because we're so narrow now that we haven't got the two fullbacks going up and down the line to be able to create that width. And the reason they're not going up and down the line is because we can't afford to leave Henderson and Fabinho back there on their own. They're good players, but they're not central defenders. They're central midfielders, aren't they, at the end of the day?
They're both midfielders, yeah. It's like that changes the whole dynamic when you're taking our best, pretty much, Fabinho, right? He's our best defensive midfielder.
Yes.
And Hendo's like a muscle who can run, and he's a team leader who should be in the middle of the field. And you've taken them out of the middle of the field and you put them in the back, which basically affects every other aspect of the team. Mm-hmm. You have great players like Thiago and Shaqiri, right? The little guy there.
Yeah, that's it.
Shaqiri, yes, who are great players and they're little magicians, but they're not like the muscle, and they don't have the presence in the middle of the field to control the midfield like we used to do.
I agree.
Once we get like Van Dijk back and either Gomez or Matip back, then the others start to come back to the midfield, and then that'll help feed the top three. A lot more. And
I actually feel that top three seem completely cut off.
Yeah.
And actually totally ineffective. And I've only looked upon it. I thought it was because I'd got Salah into my fantasy football team.
Me too.
The minute that happened, he stopped doing anything in football. So not only is it costing me points in fantasy football every week, but it's costing Liverpool points. And I actually don't feel that you're playing well as a team.
No,
I think you're absolutely bereft of that sort of that flowing football that people looked at last year and the year before. I'm not seeing it, and I'm seeing sort of little pockets where Alexander Arnold's not playing well. He seems to be well off where he was last year, and he's probably tired. After the season they've had, you can't carry on that momentum for a third season at the rate at which they've been playing, and I wonder if it's something where Klopp needs to start looking at that rotation system and deliberately giving players a rest, because they look shattered. They look shattered. Some of them look short of confidence, and that surprised me just how quickly that's ebbed away. And I thought there were times today I thought Alisson kept us in the game. And
Alisson made two superb saves. He made at least 2 key saves at the end there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, thank you for Alisson,
Yeah, and I think United, to be honest, United came with a plan of just sitting tight, see what you could get, and then seeing if you could play that ball between the two centre halves, knowing the fact that they didn't have the pace. Yeah. And in the first half, I don't quite think Rashford got his starting position right, and so he was caught offside loads of times. But if he'd have got that right and he'd actually continued, I think they would have got. I think they possibly would have snuck a goal, and I think, at the end of it, I think both teams are probably quite happy coming away with a point and then just sort of moving away without any particular damage to either confidence or to team spirit.
I think Josh has just come in there, John, and I think he's reflecting what you just said there. I think both teams were clearly afraid. I agree with him. I think both teams were playing to lose rather than win. And I think you're saying there about the pace at the back. We don't have the pace. Van Dijk isn't there with the pace. Gold isn't there with the pace. So if we haven't got the pace there at the back, that stops. Goes back to what I've just said there before. John, the fullbacks can't go forward the way they were doing before.
Yeah, because what they're trying to do, they're so aware that it's like they're now sort of stuck trying to cover in behind because they know that they've both got a bit of pace about them, haven't they?
Yeah.
So, which again is where Van Dijk, one of Van Dijk's real sort of strengths is the fact he's reading of the game and his actual control of that sort of defence in the midfield area just is quite sublime at times. And I think they're missing him. And I will not go and have the argument about Jordan Pickford on here, being an Evertonian, but. I think more than that. I think more than anything, I think as a club, I think you've got the money, and I think there's got to be a bit of an awareness that shoving Origi on the last 10 minutes isn't the answer. You want players to come off your bench that are really going to have a bigger impact, and I think that's what I think Klopp's been a little short-sighted on strength and depth.
I think he maybe, and to answer that though, I think maybe he's thinking that he has a lot of strength and depth, but he has a lot of injuries. So how many world class players do you want to bring in January when these guys when the injured guys come back in 3 or 4 weeks, they're going to be sitting on the bench and be pissed off. That's what I'd be worried about because you got to think there's a lot of quality people that are injured right now.
Yep.
It's just we missed Jota today, right? He's
I did have a laugh because he was trending on Twitter this afternoon, and everyone saying, for someone who's just such a new signing, is just how much he's been missed in that team.
He is, yeah. And it goes to I love Firmino. I love him. I think he's a brilliant player. I think he brings so much, but he's just not clinical enough in front of goal. Where Jota will just put something away. He'll just get a half a chance and he'll just stick it in the back of the net and that's it, done. Welcome in, Nick. Thanks for coming. Let us know what your team is, Nick. And let us know how they got on today. So, I'm with you. We just need to improve. But I'm with you, Charlie. If we go out and buy a player now, you're going to have all these players coming back and it is going to be a case of what do you do there. I think we just accept that, City are the favourites this year. I think they're going to win the title. Me personally, I think it's City's title to lose.
Because I actually think at the moment they're only in second gear, and I think it's theirs at the minute to win rather than to lose. I think they're just they're not even started playing football yet.
Yeah, exactly. So it's theirs to lose. For me, what I mean is it's theirs to win, it's theirs to lose. What I mean by that, John, is they are going to win it because they've started hitting the right form at the right time. So you got halfway through the season. Don't forget, this is normally where we are at Christmas time, but because the COVID it started a little bit later. For me, it started too quick. We'll get into that in a bit. So at half time, you're looking at City where they are. They're hitting the form at the right time to just go for that last second half and go and take it. They're the team that everyone should be afraid of for me. City, not United. United didn't show anything to me today to suggest that they were title challengers. I don't care what the press. I don't know what they're saying over there, Charlie. Probably not saying a lot over in the States in the press over there because the soccer doesn't get that much coverage, I don't think. But over here, the press is all about, United have been doing really well. Are they going to win the title again? For me, no, they're not. After today's performance, no, I don't see it.
I think, Stephen, I think the thing there, though, is that writing about United sells papers and it fills a lot of pages in papers. I think even the most hardened United hater has got to say United are a much, much better team now than they were 12 months ago. And actually, they're as close as to that top three than they've been for a long time. And I think they're possibly just one or two players short of becoming absolutely, dominant again at the top of the league. And I think that's a danger for many clubs if you don't sort of keep up with that sort of keeping your squad fresh. I personally think they need to get rid of Pogba, but that's a personal thing. I just don't like him. I don't think he's not a team player.
No, what's helped them is Bruno Fernandes. He's been
absolutely, yeah.
Bruno Fernandes has done really well. And I am one of them hardened United haters, John.
Most Liverpool fans are.
But you know what? I'm also like a proper football fan, and I was talking to a couple of United fans in work and about it this weekend. I said, there's one player in the United team I would have at Liverpool tomorrow, and it's young Marcus Rashford. What a player.
Yeah.
He's really, really good. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. He can pass the ball. He can score goals with his head and his feet. He's just a really good player. I think with the right people behind him, he'd be unstoppable right now. If he had... I don't know if he had like the creative players that you've got in like Liverpool and City. He'd be scoring goals left, right, and centre. I
think as well. I think that them signing Cavani has been such a good move because he's going to give all of them younger lads, like Greenwood, the likes of Martial, they still need that time and that expertise around them in order to develop themselves. And I think that was a clever signing in some ways.
Definitely.
And I think Cavani's actually showing himself as he's still got a bit of, still knows where the back of the net is.
Yeah, he's one of them proper hunters of the goal, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's always been like that. I class him as like an old fashioned like forward, centre forward. He knows where to get to, and he knows where his holes to pick up. I don't think United have had a player like that since probably Van Nistelrooy. I think Van Nistelrooy was the last one that they had that could really find a hole, and score a goal. Yeah, definitely. Nick saying he's a Spurs fan. They won 3-1 this week, Nick. So it's not unfortunately this week for you.
I can see his point. And I think Spurs are one of these teams, and there was uproar about the fact that Dele Alli's not getting picked by Jose Mourinho because he doesn't like him. And I think the fans are a bit peeved at the fact that one of their biggest talents is just basically being pushed away, a little bit like Shaw was by Mourinho at Man United. And even today I was thinking, it'd be really nice if Spurs actually really struggled, and they didn't. They just took the game by the scruff of the neck, and they've done what Mourinho teams do. They just win. They don't do anything particularly outstandingly good, but they win. And I think that's what Spurs will be down to try and win a cup and try and get into Europe. But it won't be pretty, and I think that's the problem with Spurs. I think a lot of people like the way Spurs always used to play. I don't think Kane's as good a player since Mourinho has gone there either.
Right. Son's been on fire this.
Yeah. Son has. He's been really good. Son, really, really good. It was like, I think it was last season, was it not, when Kane had a bit of a long injury, and Son just rose to challenge really and just started bringing loads of goals in, didn't he? He was really, really good. Yeah, I just think, Nick is right to be unfortunate at Spurs because they just seem to get close, but never just get over that line, do they? And it'd be nice for a team like Spurs to get over that line for something, get a cup, get a trophy or something. I'd like to see it. I really would. I'd like to see a team like Spurs do that. It's good for the game. It's not good when you have teams dominate for too long. The last few years it's been Liverpool and City in the league. So I'm sort of happy, even though I'm a Liverpool fan, and I want us to win the title again. I'm happy that the title race is going the way it's going.
Yeah. Because
it's open. So let's have a look. I'll put something here. If we actually have a look at the top of the league here. So let me just do this. I need to just make that smaller, I think. When I do that, I should be able to get something. Right. So if you look here at the top half of the table, right? So you've got Man United. So Man United at the top is 37 points.
Yeah.
Everton in 6th is 32 points. That's 5 points. It's 5 points between 6th and 1st.
Yeah.
You got a game in hand there, John. Obviously,
I know. I'd also put in the fact I'm a glass half empty Evertonian at the best. So I look at that 32 points. 8 more points, so we've got 40, and we don't have to bother with relegation and stuff like that. That's all I bother about at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And so to see that now, I'm thinking, this you can do what we want now. Go and enjoy the rest of the season and see what happens. I've got no expectation, but it was really good when they were top of the league, because for my kids, that's the first time in their lifetime we've been top of the league.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. But look at the form though on the right hand side. The form. So Liverpool, we're not looking good, Charlie. We're looking like
we're still in the top 4 though. Still in the top 4 with all of this.
But the problem is Everton win their game in hand, but out of it.
That's true, right? I know.
It's horrible to see. As a Liverpool fan, I'm really not liking seeing that. But it is what it is. I think they've done really well, Liverpool, where they are. But you look at City, like I said, they've just hit the right form at the right time. So in the last 6 games, they've won 5. Won 5 on the bounce. So and they've got a game in hand now on United, only 2 points behind them. So they're going to win that game in hand. It doesn't matter who they're playing against. They're going to win it. They really look on fire. So they'll go top. Liverpool, we need to start hitting goals. As a Liverpool fan, we hit 7 past Palace, and then we haven't scored a goal since.
Yeah, I think as well though, and I think going back to look at City. You look at the players that are coming in. You look at Foden Foden looks absolutely world class, and yet he started on the bench this afternoon, and then suddenly, John Stones looks a proper footballer again. And that's saying something, because he went through such a torrid time when he went to City. He'd been coached extremely badly at Everton when Martinez was there, when they were playing some form of system at the back that only Martinez probably knew, because the players didn't. And he looks absolutely top notch now. He looks worth every penny. And to see him score twice today, and I'm thinking, do you know something? That's taken a lot. It's a long journey for Stones, but he doesn't have had an awful lot of value to that City team. And you think that I don't think Sterling's playing particularly well, but they still keep winning, and they still keep winning by scoring 3, 4, 5 goals at a time, and that's scary.
It's just the way they play, John. They're just a pure out-and-out attacking team. So when it's not going well for them, like it didn't last season and for part of the start of this season, they do fall short. But when it starts ticking, they are a very dangerous team to be against. Yeah. Definitely. Dev, just going back to your comment before, John, about Dembele. Let me just stop saying that here. Nick's come on and he said he thinks he's doing the man management thing with him. He hasn't stepped up. Whereas Doug, I've struggled to say that name. What was it? Ndombele, is it? Ndombele.
Yeah. I can see that, and I'm looking at Josh's comment there as well.
Yeah, Josh's comment.
It's that tough love, isn't it? That tough love.
Yeah.
And I suppose you've got to look at someone like Dele Alli having a little bit more fight and a little bit more desire to get back in that team.
Yeah. Maybe he's got the attitude of I've got a God-given right to be in that team, but no one's got a God-given right to be in any team.
That's right.
Definitely not. There's no one player bigger than any club. There's just not in any sport. In whatever you play, you're not bigger than the club, especially if you're a team game like football is, baseball, and stuff like that. You're never bigger than the club. You're never bigger than the team. Welcome in, Andy. Welcome in. Let us know how your team got on today. Yeah, so
No, that actual table's worth looking at again because
do you want me to get it back up?
Look where Villa are as well, and they've got a couple of games in hand, and if they get over this sort of COVID scare that they've had, the actual style of football that they're playing, I've got to say, given the fact that they were sort of relegation fodder at one point last season, that they've turned around a rather ordinary side, and I think they just look exciting to watch, and in my eyes, they've got the most amazing bargain of a goalkeeper as well, and the lad they got from Arsenal, he's just one of a kind, that old-fashioned goalkeeper. The cross is coming in and he catches it, and he looks to catch it every single time, and I'm thinking as a defender, you must be so pleased at the fact that you've not got someone who's, like my own team's goalkeeper in Pickford, have come in flapping and dropping and punching and not sure what is going to happen. This lad goes, he catches, and as a centre half, you're probably thinking, "Cheers, mate! You saved me a job there."
Yeah,
I like them. I like Southampton as well, but I think Southampton's been unlucky again with injuries, but yeah. I'm not even going to talk about West Ham because they're just as we go back to Moyes and his Everton links as well.
We'll get on to all that later, John. You can have all that later. Look at what Nick's comment said. He said they've got 9 points to gain as well. I didn't even realise that when I was looking at this. Look at it. They've got 3 games in hand. So if they win all 3 games, right, that's 9 points, like Nick's points out there. That's 35 points to the second. The second, third, that's where they are. It's
but they're the type of team that could do that as well. They could actually go and beat any of that top half of the league.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. Like I said before, is like I say, as a Liverpool fan, I want to see us run away with it again, like we did last season. But we're not going to. And the title rate this year is unbelievable. You look at that first down to 10th. There's 11 points in it. And there's only 11 points, and the team that's 11 points behind, that's your 3 games in hand on the people that 11 points behind. That's how close it is. It's just ridiculous. But for me, I think a lot of it has probably been down to the fact the way we've started the football season far too soon. I think after COVID, we had that delay, didn't we, for last season? We played on, then I think it was only a couple of weeks. They started again. The amount of days that the teams have been getting is just. It's unprecedented this season, isn't it?
It's a very short break, and you would think that would be advantageous to the top tier teams that have the depth in their squad. But it doesn't look that way. It doesn't look that way with this table. It's like it's so close.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, there was a thing going over here. It's trying to get the 5 subs. He was trying to get the 5 subs ready, but a lot of the teams rejected it. And he was saying there was too much of an advantage. But I think I know Jurgen Klopp got a bit upset about it. I think he was upset about it because he was thinking more about player welfare. And I don't doubt it that's what he was thinking of, is player welfare rather than advantage.
Yeah.
Being able to change people 5 times. Because they just had such a short break in between.
I think, especially with, the teams that are playing, all the different competitions with Champions League and Europa or whatever, the 5-man sub would be a tremendous help to just managing, the minutes on some of these guys, which you've already said Liverpool looked tired, but if they had a 5-man sub, well, you'd be getting a lot more little breaks especially for the key players. Getting 20 minutes off here or there, the game. I think that adds up, and I think it makes a big difference.
It's going to help every team because they got to look at the welfare of the players at the end of the day. You know, Everton. It's like this thing that's happened with Everton's game today. They got postponed because of COVID. Right, so you got things going on in society at the minute, which is just out of the ordinary. So I think we just need to be out of the ordinary on what we're doing with it, and just think of the players. I know what people can say. My heart bleeds to them. They get paid X amount of money each week to kick a ball around the field. I get that, but at the end of the day, it's causing them injuries. Every team's getting it. Everton's getting it. We're getting it. Man United are getting it. We're all. That's my son's friends. Hello, Leon. You can stick Palace up where it don't sunshine. I'll tell you the funny story about Leon. Right, he comes over. He's my eldest son's friend, and he come over the other week and he said, "I'm going to predict a win for Palace when they play in Liverpool." He said, "Palace are going to win 7-0."
Okay.
He got the score right. He just got it on the wrong side. But again, the last bit on us, hasn't it? Since because we haven't scored a bleeding goal since, which is frustrating. Really frustrating.
I think that the 5 sub bit, I think is it's a good discussion, but actually I don't feel it's within keeping of the spirit of the game, and I can understand where the clubs are coming from. As a fan, I actually feel that if you've got 5 subs coming on, you wouldn't, to be honest, it'd just be like, I think it'd be like sort of change, you change half your team, and it's just like the fluidity would go out of the game, the whole shape of the game would change as well. And I think I don't know. I don't like it. I didn't like it when they used it previously, because I think it was a case that teams, when they went maybe 2 goals up, would then deliberately use scenarios to make those changes and actually save players that that they could keep for Saturday and stuff. And I don't know. I'm a bit loath to go down that route again.
I can see where you're coming from, John, and I understand why there's that thought as well.
Yeah.
But if you look, I'm going to take Liverpool out the equation because I think Liverpool's been hit more than other teams, but other teams have been hit with the injuries this season, and you don't go from sitting in. Don't forget the players when during the first lockdown over here, is they were sat in the house as well, John. Then they had to go and finish the season, so they basically had the off season while the lockdown was down, and they didn't finish that. They didn't come out and have to finish the season. Then they've had a week or two. I think what was it, 2 weeks?
And then go again. It's quite, it'd be quite similar to the impact it has on, on players after a World Cup, and people have gone deep into a World Cup, maybe a quarter-final, semi-final, and then had to go back, and some of the players have already started pre-season training, but they're given 2 or 3 weeks off, and then they start the players into sort of proper training. And I think it's very similar to that. And I think even thinking back on some of the great players, even back in Gascoigne's day, after a long World Cup, some of those players, I wouldn't say it, not all, but some of those players really struggled to perform in the whole of the following season.
Definitely. And I think Nick comes to a good point here.
I think it's a great point, this.
I'll just put it up. Sorry, Charlie, I'll get you back on. Don't block you out there.
No, you're helping me because I'm on my phone and I can't see the chat, so this popping them up is really helping me.
So he's asking about what sort of impact do the fans make on these games? Would teams be performing the same way on away days if there were fans there, or would they struggle? Completely agree. There's just the fans make a difference massively. There's no home advantage this season anyway. You play at home. It's not like you're playing at home because there's no fans there to give you the go. Sorry to use the Liverpool thing again, but you think about it's the same with Everton at the Gladys Street. The Gladys Street end's the same as the Cop ends. The Cop end blows the ball out the net and it sucks it in. Yeah. The same Gladys Street does exactly the same thing over in Goodison Park. And we haven't got that, and it was great. I thought it was great that little bit of thing in between the full lockdown and this new lockdown where the fans were able to get in the grounds, and you see
that was awesome.
It was. And it was weird because there was a point, Charlie, where only Liverpool and Everton could have the fans in the stadium. Everyone else, it was only Liverpool. It was in a tier. We have tier systems 1 till 4, and tier 2 where the rest of the country was in 3 or 4. And if you're in tier 3 or 4, the fans weren't allowed to go to the game, and there was only Liverpool that was in tier 2. We were allowed our fans in, but it was mad. You know, and even watching it though on the telly, you know, you're watching it and you're watching like what's the games today and other games. It's not the same without the crowd noise. I know they put the crowd noise on in the background at the broadcast.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. Not the same. We need the fans back, but
I think another one to look at, and again, Charlie, this is possibly for people across there. One of the things last night I was watching the Packers game. And the first thing that Aaron Rodgers said after the end of the game was just how much the fans had impacted upon the team and pushed the team forward again. And I thought, you know, that's something, even it transcends all sports, doesn't it? You know, it doesn't matter. You need that home support. And you put that against the Liverpool-Man United game today in particular, because the atmosphere at that particular game is I think toxic's probably a polite way of describing it, isn't it? And it's the one game in the season where there's that much hatred in the ground that it really does spur the home team on so much. And that was perhaps the thing. Even as a viewer today, you were just missing that real uplift to just sort of push the players into making that sort of tackle and taking somebody out of the game, and it's just adding a bit to it.
It's a huge difference, and I think it's affect even when a player's not like scoring like the ones they should or whatever. Sometimes the crowd will get on them. Say, hey, let them know that this is enough. You've been playing around in front of the net too much. You haven't been scoring. You haven't been focusing enough or whatever. The crowd will let them hear it. And sometimes a player needs to hear that and say, okay, I got to get my act together. Sometimes it's a push in that direction as well.
Mm. Yeah, and I think I mentioned John Stones earlier, and I wonder if that may be part of Stones' sort of rehabilitation. In the fact that he's not great, and I know from the Gladys Street he got terrible abuse in some of his last days there. And I actually think some of that was justified because he was trying to fancy Dan football rather than just putting in row Z. And you could see the danger that the team was under. But I wonder is that sort of that whole mental side of it where you've not got the crowd on your back, you're not sort of feeling as if your anxiety levels are so high that you can't play the game. I wonder that I might be wrong, but I wonder if it's actually helped him in some ways.
Possibly. Because, like you say, the crowd will give you the negative comments as well as the positive ones.
Yeah.
I've been in the grounds when they've been doing it, and it's. I hear some of the stuff that gets shouted, and you can, the players hearing them, and it must be. I feel that it must be uncomfortable because some of the stuff that they say is quite strong. It's what they're saying is quite strong. But
I have a question.
I still think it's been more of a negative impact than a positive one with the crowd not being there.
So I have a question. All right. So why aren't they letting people who have had COVID already, people who have already have COVID and they know that they have immunity now for 5, 6, 7 months or whatever? If you have COVID and you can prove it, why don't they let those people in the stadium? Because they're not gonna get it again. It's not gonna spread it to anybody. I don't think so. Why don't they let some of those people in the stadium?
That's a really great question.
It is, isn't it?
There's like 60 million people that have survived COVID. You hear that thing all over the social. Okay, 70 million people have had COVID and recovered. Okay, so let them go to the games. It's like
exactly. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Why don't they? I think, but over there, I don't know what's been like over there. I think the messages for COVID has not been clear. It's not been anything but anything but clear. I think you'd probably agree with me there, John, on that. It's been anything but clear.
Yeah.
I think we should follow Sam Allardyce's advice.
No hugging, lads. No kissing.
That's awesome.
No kissing.
Just keep playing that all night. It's just so funny.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. And so
for every game.
To be honest with you, Charlie, on most things that get said about bloody COVID over here from the government, I do a bit of it.
Yeah.
What's going on? It's just frustrating, but we are getting to the end, aren't we? We got the vaccines now. I think you've got 3 now, have you not? Charlie, you've got 3 vaccines now.
I think so. I know of 2, maybe 3. I'm not sure, but I know that they're getting all ramped up and they're already starting to give some people them. And I think it's supposed to reach, they're doing it in phases to different groups. I think we're supposed to reach the general public in like late March, early April. Everyone's supposed to be able to go to their corner CVS and get a shot if they want or whatever. Yeah. So hopefully that's.
Well, I think things. And there's much more people in America, isn't there? Than here? How big's your population against you? It's like 350 million or something, is it?
About 300 million. Yeah, about 300 million.
See, that's when you look at like the UK as a whole. What's England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland? I think it tops about 65, 66 million. So I think 55 of them is in England itself. And we're looking at achieving at the same time as you of getting the most vulnerable done. I think what was it, John? About middle of April.
I've stopped watching. I've stopped looking. I don't believe a word of it. So I just I
don't blame you.
Because it frustrates me when the government can't do it right. So, and I think as well, and going back to what you're saying about if you've had COVID, being able to go to the football, the thing is, people are that fanatical about the actual team that you'd be turning up in the games. I've had COVID. Yeah. I want to get in. I've had it.
Don't forget, in the middle of the pandemic, the first wave of the pandemic, Charlie, right? And Liverpool were going for the title. And all you're seeing on social media was videos of thousands of people outside the Anfield sitting flags off and flags and all. They weren't in the ground, they were outside, but they were still there. They were still
there. I know, they're still there. Yeah, you got coverage over here too, because we do have the show on NBC Sports that they have, with Rebecca Lowe and the 2 Robbies or whatever. I don't know if you guys.
Robbie Earl.
Robbie Earl and Robbie Mustoe. And so those are the main people who present our Premier League weekends.
Yeah.
So that's the channel I pretty much watch. But yeah, they do all the coverage and everything like that. And I love it when they do the preseason stuff over here and they go around to all the different American cities and they do all that type of thing because they come to Boston too, and I love that. But it's not, you won't catch that on the regular news, but you'll catch it on.
I've got to say one of the advantages to all that's going on in the lockdowns has been the fact that normally it's usually when I'm in Orlando that I get to watch Premier League football live at 3:00. UK time, it's when you wake up on a Saturday morning and there's a game on already.
Yeah.
And in the US, you got much more live coverage of all of the games every weekend. Yeah. And now we're getting that in the UK, and I actually feel that moving forward, I think it's spoiling us somewhat because we're getting used to that model that you guys are very much used to.
Well, Amazon is showing the games now as well, John. And that's good. You'll have seen that as well, Charlie. Amazon is showing the games as well now. We don't get as many games as anywhere else does. Like if you go to the States or if you go to like over in the Far East and stuff like that, they get much more of the Premier League games than we get. In fact, you get a choice of what game to watch. We don't. It's 1 of 12. 1 of 4, and that's it. Or you might be lucky. Like today, there was one at 7:45. We got 3 games today on live TV, which is great. We don't get much coverage. So when I'm over in the States, that's the NBC channel out there. That's the channel I put on. So watch the football. That's the one I'm watching. I've actually got a funny story, actually. You know, a few years ago, we were actually in Disney, and you know the ESPN, is the ESPN Lounge at the Boardwalks?
Yeah.
And it was Liverpool v Dortmund in the semi-finals of the UEFA Cup, right? And Liverpool won, and there was a load of I don't know how many Liverpool fans were there, but there was loads there, and they were from all over. They weren't just from the UK, some were from the States, some were from Australia and all that. But the noise, it was ridiculous. The noise was so loud that the chef come running out with his knife. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, load of rowdy Liverpool fans were like, giving it all the shouting and the "You'll Never Walk Alone" and all that commentary.
Yeah, I love it. I can see a lot of Liverpool fans around. Especially and America has a big Liverpool following.
Oh, really?
Especially in the New England area.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of because it's the same group that owns Fenway Sports, isn't it? They own the Red Sox. They own the Boston Globe. Then they went and they bought in at is it John Henry, isn't it? And then went and bought in at Liverpool.
Yeah,
part of that. And I've got to say, I think as well, looking at the structure of the way that they run the Red Sox, again probably goes back to what I'd said at the start of the show. Is perhaps where Klopp hasn't been allowed to go and spend big money. It's because they don't believe they believe that once players are on too big of money, you get rid and you cash in, and they're not frightened of doing it. They've done it repeatedly at the Red Sox. I'm thinking Mookie Betts in particular. You would have built your team around him, but he was asking for too much wages, and so they ship him out. And it's just like it sounds harsh, but that's the way sport in America works. But I think we'll begin to see that creeping in more and more over here.
Yeah.
Is that what did he call it? Moneyballing or something like that? Was it? There's actually a documentary. I don't know if it was on Netflix or something else, and it's about the guy who brought that up. And he I think at the end of it, you see him having an interview. Obviously, it's not an actual thing. It's like a story made up. It's like Batty John Henry, but it's someone playing John Henry. Having interviewing the guy. I don't know which baseball team it is, Charlie. It was really small one, and he nearly won the big prize over there.
Yeah, the Oakland A's, I believe.
Pardon?
The Oakland A's, I believe.
That's him, the Oakland A's. That's him, yeah. That's it, yeah. And it's his idea. It was him who thought it up. But John Henry adopted it. He just basically adopted it, didn't he? And it worked well for the Red Sox because they won the first title in how many years? 100 years?
Oh, forever.
Yeah, 2004 was a very good year. Yeah, and then we nailed like 4 or 5 of them, I think.
Well, he's basically come to Liverpool and done the same thing, and ended our drought last year. Finally, thankfully, we don't have to listen to the people like John and
I'm still waiting. It's just like you start thinking about our last trophy was that long ago that my kids weren't alive. My hair wasn't grey, and it's just like
1995, wasn't it, John?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember the day well.
It was on with Charlie on last Sunday, and Charlie was asking us, do you have Everton fans in your family, like, because we do and stuff like that? I said, yeah, we do. Like, my brother, who's no longer with us, he was a Blue, and my mother-in-law, she's a Blue, and we often sing "It's 1995" to our mother-in-law. Yeah. I like this from Nick. The flag slip, a bit like Liverpool's title chances. I know, Nick. I know. It's just let's not go there. Let's not go there. But we can thank the Beatles for that. What are you going on about there, Nick? We must have missed something there. What's that about? Let us know what that is. You can thank the Beatles for that. Okay. Come back to us with that one, Nick. I'm not sure what you're on about there, though. Probably something we've said. I don't know. I'm not quite catching that. But yeah, so let's get away from Liverpool anyway. Let's talk about the best game of the day, which I think is Wolves and West Brom. Was it a penalty? Did you see it?
Shocking. It's absolutely. Both of it were shocking.
I've got a clip. I've got a clip of the first one, Charlie. So I'm going to put it on now, right?
Okay.
And let's see. Right? Was it a penalty?
Penalty.
It was outside. Surely that was outside the box.
I was going to say that too. Yeah. That looked outside to me.
Yeah, I think it was a foul, but that was never inside the box. I'm sorry, it wasn't. It wasn't. And I know they're going to come back and say, well, VAR, it's supposed to only rectify the clear and obvious mistakes. Well, if that's the case, I don't think it's a clear and obvious one, which I think is clear and obvious because he's outside the box. But at least get the referee to go and have a look at the monitor. You know, get him over there, get him to look at the monitor because that was never a penalty. It was a free kick. It was definitely a foul. I don't doubt it was a foul.
I've just had a thought though. Was your Big Sam bit before trying to tell the players not to go hugging and kissing Michael Oliver? That might have been what it was. As the ref was going to think about the VAR monitor, Big Sam's telling him, "Don't go and kiss him yet." You know, it was never a pen, and I don't even think the second one was either. I think Connor Cody's got to be really unlucky with that one. But you've got to, yeah, it was dead soft, and you know. But Big Sam's not going to be complaining, and West Brom fans are not going to be complaining. I wasn't expecting them to beat Wolves. I thought Wolves look a really fragile team at the minute, and not just without Jimenez up front. They're not doing the jobs that they previously had drummed into them, and you know, it must be frustrating for Wolves fans. But again, going back to what we said before, are they a team? They played an awful lot of games last season as a very small squad. I wonder if the games have actually just caught up with them.
Yeah. Nick's agreeing. It's never a pen. Never a pen. Americans like in Liverpool, so that's what he's saying. We can thank the Beatles for Americans like in Liverpool. I'm not going to argue that one. And if you actually look, I'm going to put the bottom half of the table on now, and we'll have a look at Wolves, right? And you'll see why they are where they are. So you actually look at Wolves. They look at the form. They've had 2 draws and 4 losses in the last 6 games. They're not picking points up. They've really took a dip. That's relegation form for me. That now they're showing like they could end up in the relegation battle. I mean, Fulham, who's actually in the bottom 3, has shown better form, but only slightly. But they're showing better form. Burnley, who are below them, at least they've got a couple of wins. You know. So it's not like the title race at the top. It's encompassing the full top half of the table. I think the relegation battle.
The team there. You look at Newcastle. You look at Newcastle as well because their form's identical to that of Wolves, and yet probably Wolves fans are sitting there going, "Yeah, we're all right. We're still trying to get there. We're still not. We're not playing great, but we're playing the way that we want to." And yet Newcastle fans are turning around and just like they hate the way that Steve Bruce sets up his team.
Yeah, and
you know, to be honest, they don't make for a pretty watch. And actually, you could see them getting dragged into this. And I've got to say, if West Brom with Big Sam or Fulham with Scott Parker, they've actually begun to change they've become more difficult to beat. And I think that's the key to all of this. And I think with Fulham, they were unlucky the game there that they lost. But you know, there's lots of teams there. All the way up, probably. In fact, yeah, should we include Arsenal in that as well, just for a laugh?
Well, Arsenal are they're not out there. I mean, the form's a lot better.
They're not, yeah. But it's you know, I'd
like to see Arsenal further down than but they have picked up the form, but no, they're definitely not out of that because they're going to get relegated. Well, they're not going to get relegated. They are too good. But at the end of the day, the way this season's going, anything can happen.
Yeah. But if you look at Leeds, you know, and I know lots of people local to where I am, big Leeds fans, they absolutely adore Bielsa. They love the team. They love the way they're playing. But actually, they're getting picked apart at the minute. And I think that's very easy to turn around into. You put a string of games together where you lose that confidence that you had when you were first promoted, and you suddenly find that second half of the season becomes so much more difficult to get points, because everyone sussed out how you'd play or how it'd stop you from playing. And I hope not, because I really like the way they've set up, and I like the attacking style, but they're very, very easy to pick apart.
I think any team coming up from the Championship and into the Premier League, they just need to stick to the guns, keep playing. They might only scrape through. Just keep playing the way they play. I mean, I was really impressed with them on the opening week of the season when they played us at Anfield. Really impressed with them. They looked like a really tough team. And to be honest, we were lucky to get out of that with what we got out of it.
Yeah, some of these teams, like with Leeds, it's like you get the impression that they up their game a couple notches whenever they're up against like Liverpool or whatever better teams. They play a lot better, and then it's like they totally relax when they're playing other like relegated teams or the ones in bottom half of the team. Can we take a look at Chelsea? I want to see what their form is, because they got rid of Frank.
Let's get Chelsea back up, because they're on the top half.
That's a good call, that actually. They seem to flatter to deceive, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, I agree with that, Charlie. I think they, you know, and you could see, you know, they've got an owner who just presses the panic button and he's gone, isn't he?
Yeah. So you look at Chelsea. You're right, Charlie. Look at that. Chelsea, they've lost 3 out of the last 6 and drawn 1. Yeah. They've only picked 2 wins out of 6 games. So out of 18 points, they've picked up 3, 6, 7 points out of 18 points.
And they weren't great yesterday at Fulham. I thought Fulham were really unlucky with the Anthony Robinson sending off.
So who did they replace? They replaced Frank Lampard, right?
No, is he still there, Frank? He's still there.
Still there.
Oh, it's still there. Okay.
Yeah, he's still there.
I thought I heard something.
I think earlier in the week, I think there was a lot of press about. I think we were talking about getting Avram Grant coming back in to oversee Lampard, which I thought I didn't like the sound of that, because actually that's like telling you you're useless. But they're going to put a manager in on top of another layer of bureaucracy. And I wouldn't. If I was Lampard, I'd have been walking out. And I think that the pressure's on, because he's got players, you know. I won't. Yeah, Timo Werner looks to be kind of a barn door at the minute, and he proved it. Proved it towards the end of the game yesterday. It was the proverbial sort of scenario, because he couldn't, and he should have scored twice. I
just wish Pulisic came to Liverpool instead of going to Chelsea. That's all, because I'm an American guy, you know. I love Pulisic, but
he's a good player. I like Pulisic.
He's
a good player as well. Yeah. We've got that's the thing. That's all that American players. I mean, you have produced some good ones in the past. Like Pulisic is obviously the latest one. Well, I remember back in the 90s, was it Salas or what was his name? He was a defender, long hair.
Oh, Alexi Lalas. He ended up being.
That's the fella, yeah.
Lexi Lalas, right?
Yeah. He went to the New England Revs as a manager at one point as well, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, you know, we've had a goalkeeper from the States in the Liverpool, Brad Friedel. Right. I mean, what, you know, he comes to Liverpool. I'm not being funny, not. He was absolutely poor in Liverpool, but then he went to Blackburn Rovers and he was the best goalkeeper in the world.
Even as a blue, we had Tim Howard. Absolutely superb for us. And we also had Landon Donovan for a couple of seasons on loan.
He did.
Landon Donovan was amazing, and I think it would have been. He's probably past his complete prime when he came to Everton. But boy, he was a proper footballer, and I would have loved to have seen him in the Premier League at a similar age to Pulisic. You know, I think he really would have developed into being a real world class star. You know, I know he's massive. I know he was massive in the States.
Yeah.
He really would have sort of lit world football up, I think.
Mm-hmm. He was a good player, him.
Yeah.
I remember him coming over, and he was at Everton, like, really good player. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, he was big in LA.
Yeah, and that was that even at the time Beckham was there, I think, as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, Beckham got all the news.
Yeah, he just went about it. You know, I've got to say that there's quite a few players in the MLS who are homegrown Americans who don't get enough credit for the job that they do. And I think was it I can't remember his first name now. Is it Bob Bradley's son? Does he play for Toronto?
Is it Mike? Or Steve? I don't know.
Yeah, can't remember his first name but he's the son of the US coach, Bob Bradley.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I can see him in the picture.
I watched him on play Orlando, and do you know something? He's the type of midfielder that every Premier League football team just cries out for. He just does that job between your back four and the halfway line, and he basically is the conductor of the whole orchestra. He makes every play, and similar to like the Henderson, that similar style and stuff like that. Doesn't take any messing off anyone who tries to rough him up. But he was a lovely player to watch. And when you start watching players in the MLS and you're thinking, would they cut it if they came across? And he was certainly one I felt that could easily have done. Not Keegan. I'm going back to golfer now. Keegan Bradley and all this, haven't we? So I'll Google it later.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next World Cup. Hopefully, we'll be able to qualify this time. Yeah. And because there's a lot of promising American players that are in the Premier League or they're in the German league.
Yeah.
And looking forward to that. So hopefully, we'll be able to make a little bit of a run.
I'll tell you what, Charlie, it'd be quite nice. And I know a lot of the MLS teams have gone back into pre-season training and stuff, but it'd be really good to try and do something and look at sort of MLS and the upcoming season as well, because I actually feel that it's quite often forgotten about over here, and it's no longer that place where players go to retire and just take the money. I actually feel as there's a real nucleus in MLS where if it's properly treated, and again with Beckham opening his club in Miami, if they don't go down that route of just getting in the big name on the big money, Orlando learned the lesson, and I know they've still got Nani there at the minute, but actually Nani's playing as good a football as I've ever seen him play. I still get very much irritated by watching the MLS when it comes to watching the Premier League, and then I watch MLS, and I just see I'm more apt to see all the mistakes that MLS are making. Just basic, you see the quality up here with the Premier League. Yeah.
I see a tremendous drop off still with the MLS. Some players are really good, but I'm talking about. You're talking maybe 3 or 4 players on a team that are maybe can go into the Premier League, but the rest of them are like, they're like college level. So
no, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. That's where they let you down.
Having said that, I'll insult the whole of Scotland now as well, because I like doing that. Is when you start watching some of the Scottish Premier League games.
The Rangers are going to win the Champions League, right?
Well, Rangers are going to win the league. They've got to win the league. Stevie G's there,
Not win the league, yeah. Rangers. But I tell you what, the standard of football in Scotland, considering how good Scottish football used to be, the standard of Scottish football at the moment is abysmal. And when you're watching all these games on the telly, and you're picking fault at MLS, you want to try and start seeing some of the Scottish.
Yeah, compare it to Scotland.
I don't think we even have the opportunity to watch Scotland at all. I don't see any Scotland games at all.
Yeah, the TV producers in America have got a quality control button.
It doesn't quite match the quality. I hope there's no one from Scotland watching this either live or on a review.
I've insulted all of Scotland now.
Just for the record, I'm half Scottish, so I'll just let that out.
And also for the record, I lived in Scotland for 18 years. So and actually, I was a season ticket holder at Partick Thistle for a couple of years as well.
Partick Thistle.
Yeah.
Talk about quality control there, John. You couldn't even control your own quality there because you can't. To be honest with you, I agree. The Scottish game is not what it used to be. I remember growing up. I was born in the late 70s, grew up in the 80s, and there was always great Scottish players. Graham Souness, you know, it was just to name one, and they were a great team, you know. And I think what damaged, particularly the Scottish game and probably the Welsh and the Irish game as well, is we stopped the home nations games. So we used to have, Charlie, the home nations games. So England would play Scotland regularly and play Wales and Northern Ireland. They would all play each other regularly, and it just stopped. I think that damaged the development of the football over here. And I think England took a bit of a hit until we got back into Europe and we started drafting in a load of European players in. And I think only now we're starting to reap the benefits of our players only getting to that level. Because if you think of the Premier League, a lot of them, they're either from South America or the continental of Europe, you know. Yeah. But we're starting to see a lot of quality, good, young English lads coming through now, you know. You said Stones before. He's a perfect example. He's a great player. You know, he's English. Marcus Rashford at United. What a player. You know, we're starting to reap them benefits. So
is that showing that the academy system that they've put in place, you know, and I know there's a lot of youngsters that fall by the wayside, and you know, I think for anyone who's watching this and it's your big dream to be a footballer. You know, I've known quite a lot of really, really good footballers as kids, and they've grown up and they got to 14, 15, and it's their one dream, and they've given up on a lot of schooling, and then suddenly they're dropped by the football club, and then you've got no other choice in life. You know, you've put all your eggs into one basket, and it's horrible to see at that stage, and it is cutthroat because you have to be exceptionally good.
You do. And you know, it's only really the top clubs that will look after the players. Also, like it's top, like the Premier League level clubs that will put the players through the private education, make sure they're getting educated, make sure they've got something to fall back on, because they know you need a letter from God to even get picked as a kid to go to the team. You need a further letter from God to actually get into the game and do it as a profession and as a career. There's so many kids that don't go. There was a lad in my tutor. He got into the Liverpool youth team. He played in the FA Cup winning side with Jamie Carragher and Michael Owen. He never made it as a footballer. He's gone. He never made it. You know, it's one of them, and it does happen, and it's sad. You know, but it's like I say, it's only the top clubs that will support them and do that for them and make sure they got the education that they need, because they're getting taken away from the schools. The public schooling, and what they'll put them into a private education. It's even better for them in that way. But if you get to like the lower leagues, they haven't got that. They haven't got the financial clout to be able to do that. Exactly. And
actually, in the past, you know, it was those lower league clubs that were actually providing that sort of player, where they would then go. I'm thinking of a lad locally was Jonathan Greening, who played for United and West Brom and Middlesbrough, but he came locally at the football club close to me at that time, did not have a youth setup. He went to York. Yeah. He played well for York. York sold him to Man United, I think, for £1 million, which for York City was a huge amount of money at the time. He's saying, you know, he's sitting at home now. He's got a Champions League medal, and he's got, you know, he's won the league with United and stuff. And actually, that was how it used to happen. Now the clubs are actually investing that £1 million into the Premier League, and these clubs further down the pecking order, they're not getting the lads who actually could make it if with the fair wind and a bit of luck. You know, the Premier clubs are basically just rooting it all out, and so you're left at lower level. You end up with players who don't seem to be able to push on and push forward. And again, going back to Partick Thistle, another good example was when Hansen went to Liverpool for, was it £500,000 back in the day? And you're thinking, you know, that probably, I think I paid for a new stand at Partick Thistle at the time, you know.
Yeah. Imagine how much you'd buy him for now, Hansen. You know, if you buy him for 75 million. He was a hell of a player, Hansen. Totally. He'd get the ball and run with it. He dribbled past half the team. He didn't need a midfield in front of him. He just needed to dribble it and go to the forwards.
I think he just needed Souness in that midfield to just offer a bit of protection. He's a bit like a quarterback as he's running. He just needs a couple of blockers in front of him. Souness will stick the foot in. Plenty of time to add a bit of protection.
Yeah. Oh, he loved them. He loved to show the 12 studs now and again, didn't he?
Yeah.
Have a bit of that. That on your ankles. Yeah. It is though. The game has changed. It's moved. I mean, if you think back to them days, John, you'll remember it better than me, being a slightly older fella than me. You know what I mean? He used to have the no worries, John. No worries. The pink pages out the Liverpool Echo. So what they are, Charlie, the Liverpool Echo is the local paper in Liverpool, obviously, and they used to have the pink pages in the middle. That was all the sports and what was going on in the football. Yeah. The likes of Bill Shankly and Bob Paisley used to look through them and go to a scout. Who are we looking at this week? And they go to the lower leagues and buy players. John Barnes, another great example of buying from the lower leagues. Yeah, what a player he turned out to be. Yeah, John Barnes, who was in from Watford, did we know? I think it was something.
Yeah, it was Watford.
Yeah. It was 10 days are gone because the quality, saying like quality, because the quality in the Premier League just got that far that you go anywhere below that, the quality just drops massively.
Yeah,
and you can actually see it in the league table as well, the Premier League table. You go to the top and you got really good quality, but as you go down towards the bottom, the quality just starts dropping off. I think
that's an interesting one because actually, we look at that table and Sheffield United are bottom, and a lot of people look at them, and I think Souness on the TV today had made a comment to the fact that it's an embarrassment to the Premier League. Well, he wasn't saying that last season when they were actually putting in performances, and again it comes back to they're a team that overachieved last season. I think they're underachieving this. And on the day last season, they could beat anybody. As could Norwich, who got relegated. They beat Man City. They beat Man City at home last season.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, every player in those teams are not going out and playing deliberately badly for your team. There's just something not quite happening. It's maybe a bit of confidence. Might be, again going back to injuries. Might be tiredness. I think it's. I've got a soft spot for the Blades because I think the style of football that they had last season, and they get and the same story comes up. Oh, they should get rid of Wilder. Who's going to go? Who are they going to get? Is any better than Chris Wilder?
No. Just say good night to Nick. See you later, Nick.
Cheers for watching, Nick.
Is it going to be a regular one now, Nick? You need to go back and join us next week. Is it going to be on your channel, Charlie, next week?
Yeah, I'm up to anything. Unless John wants to take it, I'm fine. I'm fine with whatever.
We're going to share it on Twitter anyway, Nick. You'll see it. So thanks for coming in, mate. See you later. Yeah.
I remember being impressed with Sheffield last season.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, I think they took it to Liverpool pretty well, and they played us again. Another team that I feel like everybody's, well, because I'm a Liverpool fan, I feel like they up their game just to play us better than they play everybody else.
It's that thing is you got to knock the people when you get on that pitch and everyone's going to knock you off it. I think Ferguson said when he finally knocked us off the pitch, that he's got them off the effing pitch. It's just the way it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's like that in the States, but over here, Charlie, what we'll do is we'll big something up. It doesn't matter whether it's a football team or a tennis player or whatever, or the football team, the English football team. I feel sorry for them because they get bigged up and everything. They get put on this pedestal by the media, just for the media to get the big bat out and start hitting them with it. It's like they get absolutely hammered. They go up there now. Yeah, you're great. Now we need to knock them off. We need someone else to change. It's just ridiculous.
The media have a script for the England team, just saying, okay, let's do this again. Let's do this again. And bam! All right, on this date we're going to start pounding them down or whatever. It's like I see it. Because I like the England team too. I like following them, especially in the World Cups, because usually America only goes to so far. So then at least I can cheer on someone. But I get excited to see the roster for the England team because I those are people I know. Those are people I watch every week, and I know the quality. I'm like, there is quality in that team. There's a lot of quality on the team. I'm getting excited about them, but then it's like they always underperform, and I'm like, you're kidding me. And then I get slack from all the people around me. And it's like,
it's the pressure they get put under. The media it's ridiculous, isn't it? I find I don't know why we just can't get behind the team and support them. I mean, if we got behind them and supported them, we might actually go and win a bloody cup, a World Cup or a European Cup. We might actually go and win something. But they get so far. Someone makes one mistake, and that's it. They get absolutely hammered. I remember one of the old managers, John. What was his name? Graham Taylor, was he?
Graham Taylor, yeah.
Yeah, he was a Taylor.
Yeah.
He put on the front page, Charlie, his face, but it was a turnip. He put like a turnip with his face. He was like, "Why are you doing it? He's the manager of the team. He's Come on."
Do you know something? Going back to a point I think we made earlier, and we're talking about players and players really wanting it. These players, some of these young lads have got that much money that if they don't have that passion and that desire, they're never going to make it. They're never going to make that step up into being the next big thing, are they? They might be great and they might be playing for Premier League football, but they take their eye off the ball and decide, well, do you know something? I've got my big fat contract. I'm going to set my backside in a couple of years. I'm not going to, I'm going to own my back sore. My back sore, I need 6 weeks out and stuff like that. If they haven't got it, if they don't, I saw it was during the Liverpool game. It was when Fernandes came off for Man United, and it was like 85 minutes or something. He was furious at being dragged off. He thought he should have still been on the pitch. And I thought, something that shows people that's the difference, isn't it? It's those who feel that they're actually better. And they just, the desire to win and that desire to think that in those 5 minutes you could change the game.
Yeah.
And linked to that Graham Taylor sort of era, there was loads of individual players, but collectively as a team, they just didn't perform. And I think that's happened far too many times at England level, and they've chosen the team based on a manager's personal favourites rather than choosing the players who actually would go out and as a collective team would have done a better job.
Yeah.
It's still Southgate right now, right?
Say again, Charlie, sorry?
It's still Southgate is the coach.
Yeah, he's not a bad manager. He started off with the youth team. He's now on the full team. I think he does all right. Just need to get them to gel as a team because I don't know what it is. We've got, like I said, we've always had an era of great players in the England team, but they've never, like you said, John, they just never seem to just gel.
Yeah,
and get that. We are a team, we're a unit. But they hardly play with each other. Do you know what I mean? Other countries, they'll spend a lot of time with the national team. We don't spend a lot of time with the national team. We're more interested in the Premier League than anything. If it was to say anything, and to be honest with you, I'm probably guilty for that. I'd rather watch the Premier League than the international games.
Yeah,
I'm myself. It's just that national pride, isn't it? The patriotism and stuff like that. It needs to be a bit more with the English team. But I find that what you find is, well, particularly up where we're from, John, is we tend to call England London Football Club. Yeah. Because in the past, it's always been like the southern-based players that would get in the team rather than who was the best.
Yeah.
And
it's strange because actually a sports forum I'm part of, and they put an obituary up for Colin Bell, who played for Man City now, an amazing footballer. He had about 43 England caps or something. He should have had more England caps than Bobby Moore. He was that good. Yeah. But because he played for a northern team and you weren't ever considered, and there was players that played for London teams who were picked repeatedly in the 70s. And it still happens now. And I think that's it, that's what we're up against. And I think that's that's something I think as England fans you struggle with, and I think Scotland fans do the same because there's always that argument with Scotland, where players play for Celtic or they play for Rangers, and then if you play for anyone else, then you shouldn't be in the Scotland team. That's wrong because there's players. It's all too insular, and it's too much looking after yourself if you're If I'm trying to think of a polite way of saying it, but there isn't.
Say it,
I won't say it. You see, I've already insulted the whole of Scotland tonight. So. But it's one of them. It's wrong. It's totally wrong.
It is. It's just too political.
Yeah.
I think we've covered everything for this week, haven't we? Me and Charlie have been out of a moan about Liverpool and where we're at. It's not looking good, is it? For us, Charlie, it's not really looking good, I'll be honest with you. We need to start scoring them goals.
I still have hope for this season. I think maybe they're not as hungry for it since they just won it. They just won the Champions League. They just won the league. They're not as hungry, but it doesn't look like the other teams are too hungry for it either. Especially in the beginning of the seasons, they were dropping games too. So I think it's still anybody's season, but I really don't see us like today. I didn't see us. I thought we were still the better team, except for those two incidences where at the end
we didn't lose.
I thought we had the control. We thought we have. We're not afraid. We really bring it when we play City. We bring it when we play United. It's just keeping focus, and those final three, they just the frustrating sometimes when you're just again, my poor wife, I'm just yelling at the screen. I'm just like, shoot, you're right there. It's not hitting their feet right, and there's so many. It happens time and time again where it's just something's not right, where they can't get the shot off or something.
And that's just not ticking, isn't it? Up front, is it the fact that we haven't got the two fullbacks bombing forward? Probably, because they're a big part of our attack. Narrow. We just look narrow and one dimension.
Someone's got and again, Robertson has been another one that's irritating me because it seems like he's going backwards 80% of the time now. Where before people used to bomb the box. He used to put him in the box. It's just what he's got to do again. He's just got to keep on throwing him in the box because, the three that are in there, they'll make something happen usually. But I'd rather him be putting him in the box instead of going backwards all the time. It seems like he's going backwards like twice as much as he used to.
Yeah.
Robertson.
Same with on the other side, Trent. I mean, you see before, John, that Trent's not there.
He doesn't look after the player. He really doesn't.
He gave the ball away 38 times. What was it? About a game or two ago? 38 times. It's the most anyone's ever give the ball away in a Premier League game this season.
That's probably the worst I've seen him play.
Right. Yeah, it's not clicking somewhere. Is it because the centre halves are out? Possibly. Is it because they're just fatigued? Possibly. Anyway, let's hope the season gets better. And hopefully next week we're talking about it. Everton played, and we can have that one.
Yeah, you imagine having to put it with me after Everton get beat. Having said that, years of practice have made me much more resilient to join Man United and stuff like that. So I'd be quite happy with stuff like that. So
brilliant. Right, so we call it a night for now. We went on for an hour now. It's good talk. 11 o'clock now here. So thanks everyone for watching. Keep tuning in. We're doing this again next week, and we'll just be hopefully better conversations, more conversations. Hopefully, me and Charlie aren't moaning too much every week over the football, and hopefully it's John who's having a whinge and not us. Anyway, so